Something I've always enjoyed from combat-focused shows is seeing how the characters we've come to know and love stack up against each other in combat, whether it's single combat or as teams, what have you. It's always amazing to see. And we did get a bit of that in the RWBY series when it came to the Vytal Festival tournament back in Volume 3. Although it was brief, we did get to see some of our favorite characters of the RWBY series pitted against each other, and many new characters introduced from across Remnant. Unfortunately, after that point, and as the series progressed up until where it is now, it looks as though we will never again see another tournament-style setting in the RWBY series itself, which is unfortunate. But it poses an excellent opportunity, something that I've been thinking about for over a year now, and it is my pleasure to finally announce my reworking of the Vytal Festival tournament, taking the ideas that were presented and raising them to a much greater scale, shall we say. The kitty gloves have come off. Our characters are no longer students at an academy. They are full-fledged huntsmen and huntresses, so now it's time for a real tournament, something that I am calling the Phoenix Festival Tournament, consisting of numerous videos going to be posted between now and the beginning of Volume 8, and is going to be a tournament that pits almost, or at least most of the characters that have been introduced throughout the RWBY series, currently alive or dead, will be participating in this tournament, with champions being announced at the end of it. And I say champions because this is going to work a little bit differently than the Vytal Festival. This is a reworking of the entire thing, as I mentioned already. Because the Vytal Festival itself operated under, shall we say, unique circumstances. Participants would enter as teams of 4. After winning the first round, they would go on to doubles. After winning the doubles, they would just go on to single combat. Very unique way of doing things. However, we're not going to do that here. Instead, we are going to have a separate tournament for each category. There's going to be a tournament for teams, a tournament for doubles, and a tournament for single combat, each with their own ways of operating and their own participants in each of them. The doubles and singles are going to encompass most of the characters that were introduced in the RWBY series, at least that we've seen have combat on screen, so there are things to analyze in each of the videos, because I will be analyzing the semblances, powers, fighting styles, weapons, and the combat abilities that we have seen in the series for each of these matchups, giving my opinions, how different characters would win, how the fight would fare, etc. But winners in all of these will be decided by all of you in various different ways, and I'll get into that as I'm describing the rules for each tournament. So this is going to be quite an ambitious project, I will admit, but something I am really looking forward to doing, and I would love to hear your thoughts down below. Now, I do want to say one thing. The tournaments themselves, each of these 3 categories, will all be held simultaneously, all at the same time, but they are still a ways away. They are going to be held in August, starting probably August 1st or very close to, as there's something that we need to wait for to get an accurate description of some of the teams. Before the Dawn, the book that is coming out for the RWBY series focusing on Team Coffee and Team Sun is set to release July 21st. This is probably going to have a reveal of the rest of Team Sun's semblances, which is going to be pretty important for how they will fare in combat in, every category that they will be participating in. Plus also introducing possibly new characters that might be entered into the tournaments, as well as fighting styles, etc. So we're going to hold the tournaments in August, but with that being so far away, that's a long time. So we're going to have to build some hype for this tournament to come. So every single week we are going to be holding at least one exhibition match, because the tournaments themselves, it's going to be randomized as to which team or which person is going to be facing which opponent. So a lot of matchups we just won't get to see. So the exhibition matches will be characters that we, both myself and all of you, will get to decide who is facing each other. Unfortunately, I don't have the time nor ability to animate it similar to, the Vytal Festival itself in Volume 3, but I will be going over, analyzing each character's fighting capabilities. There probably will be separate videos going over characters' semblances and weapons and a whole bunch of different things. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in this break between Volume 7 and 8. So, With that being the case, the first exhibition match, which is slated for next week, is going to be Crow Bronwyn versus his sister, Raven Bronwyn. Now, for all of these tournaments and the exhibition matches included, we're going to operate under the rule that no magic is going to be allowed. Simply put, in the tournament, a maiden would just be a little bit too overpowered compared to a lot of the other characters introduced. And most maidens already have pretty spectacular fighting styles and combat capabilities in and of themselves, so I don't think that's that much of a limitation. Plus, I'm already going to say Salem is not competing in any of these tournaments because she would just be a little too broken in 1v1 or even a team combat because it's going to take an army to take her down. So, let's get into how all of these tournaments are going to be structured. The exhibition matches are going to be one every week leading up to the tournaments themselves. At least that's the plan. There might be more than one some weeks, and other weeks, if it's particularly busy, maybe we will skip a week, but we'll see, and I'll make announcements as things come to be. So comment down below who you want to see in exhibition matches going forward. Next week will be Crow versus Raven, but plenty more to come and plenty of opportunity to see the fights, or at least hear about the fights that you want to see in the RWBY series and how, other people's opinions might be on who would end up winning. Now, for deciding who is going to win each of these exhibition matches, you're commenting down below who you think would win, but also why. Like, brief though. Like, just say semblance advantage, lack of experience, just a bad matchup, why certain characters would win or not, etc. Just to avoid, picking your favorite character. Because, there is going to be situations in which there are matchups that are completely one-sided and, well, it's going to be obvious who the winner is going to be. At least when it comes to the tournament itself, the exhibition matches are probably going to be a little bit different. But let's get into the tournaments. All of them are going to operate under some blanket rules, similar to the Vytal Festival and how they had a blanket rule that a person was eliminated when they got either a ring out or their aura dropped into the red. Well, as I mentioned, the kitty gloves are coming off. This is a real tournament now. There's no such thing as a ring out. We are going to have combatants fight until either an aura is broken. That will cause an elimination, potentially. A person is rendered unconscious, or just generally, we the judges think that the fight would end there. Because there are some characters participating in this tournament that tend to go a little bit overboard in the fight, or prefer going for the kill, shall we say. So if, for example, Tyrion came up against Oscar, this is a situation where, you'd probably say Tyrion was going to win because, I'm sorry, the little cinnamon roll of the RWBY series probably would get destroyed in that fight. We can easily assume that there's people with their semblances, like Marrows, for example, on the sideline, so they can just call out stay, stop the fight where it is, things like that. We can work it in such a way that that's going to be the way it is. But there's going to be that blanket rule, and all of these fights for the teams, doubles, and singles tournaments will all be held in Amity Coliseum. So, the biomes will also be in play, just an extra factor of randomization for each tournament, except for the single combat. That will just be a straight-up fight between the two characters. No biome advantage or disadvantage there. But the team battles will have 2 biomes randomly selected for each match, and the doubles biomes, or the doubles matches, will have 4 biomes, similar to the Vytal Festival. That idea is staying the same, and is just adding a lot more to analyze, but still something I'm looking forward to doing. And currently we have 10 different biomes. We have the ice, lava, forest, mountain, desert, ocean, urban, geyser, savanna, and the one just shown in Volume 7 and what it's capable of, the anti-gravity. So this is going to open up possibilities for many different fights and possibly some surprise upsets in different matchups. Now the brackets haven't been selected yet, that'll happen closer to August, but this is something that is going to have some interesting factors. Now the team battles, or the team tournament, is the first one I'm going to describe. It's not the one I'm looking forward to the most, but it is the one that has, I'm going to say, the most restrictions on the participants entering because they need to form a coherent team. at least, some of the ones I've made extra to that as well seem to form coherent ones in my mind. So, currently we have 12 teams going to enter, and the team tournament will be a round-robin style. So there's going to be multiple rounds in which each team will fight multiple different times. And at the end of, I think 5 rounds is a good number for 12 teams. At the end of 5 rounds, the 4 teams with the highest ranking will go on to their own little competition where we'll eventually determine who comes first to fourth. That type of thing. And similar to the Vytal Festival, each team is going to be representing their own faction. Now, in the Vytal Festival, we had the 4 kingdoms: Vale, Vacuo, Mistral, and Atlas. But this time around, Mistral unfortunately doesn't really have anyone to send because all of their students and huntsmen have moved on to other kingdoms. But that would only leave 3 factions. Unfortunately, though, well, no, not unfortunately, fortunately, there are 2 other factions that exist on Remnant ready and willing to contribute teams to this tournament. We have Salem's faction and the White Fang each sending teams this time around. So this is going to be some pretty interesting matchups. Now, from Vale, we have, of course, Team RWBY and Team Juniper. Yes, Pyrrha is coming back for all of these tournaments because, well, Pyrrha is a pretty highly combative person, and also I want to see Pyrrha again, so we're going to be having Pyrrha in the tournament. We also, from Beacon Academy, have Team Stark competing. I would be remiss if we didn't have them compete, even though we don't really know Summer Rose's combat capabilities, weapon, or semblance. Still, I think it's worthwhile having her compete, because presumably she would have similar skill to Crow and Raven. Tai Yang as well, although we don't know what his semblance is, or really that much of his combat capabilities, I still think it's worthwhile having him enter. Plus, there is also one more team representing the Kingdom of Vale in this tournament. We have the team representing the Teachers of Beacon. We have Ozpin, Glinda Goodwitch, Dr. Oobleck, and Professor Port, each on their own individual team. Now, admittedly, we've never seen Professor Port fight in really any capacity, but since he's a headmaster at Beacon Academy, a full-fledged huntsman, we can assume he could fight, and I still have some ideas for how that would work out, as well as Dr. Oobleck, but, I want to see Glinda Goodwitch and Ozpin in these fights. And yes, I'm saying Ozpin, not Oscar. Oscar is actually currently not on the team categories, but feel free to suggest other teams that you guys think should be competing. I will say that most of the teams introduced in the Vytal Festival tournament in Volume 3 are not competing because we just don't have enough of the combat, styles and information about them to give a reasonable conclusion as to who would win. If you guys disagree, again, let me know in the comments down below. From Vacuo, we have Team Coffee and Team Sun, as currently they are attending Shade Academy. So they are going to be representing Vacuo. And this is also another reason why we're waiting for Before the Dawn, so Team Sun can have a reasonable chance with their semblances hopefully revealed. Scarlet, Sage, and Neptune in particular, because we don't know any of their semblances. Then we move on to the Kingdom of Atlas, which has 3 teams competing in this tournament. We, of course, have the Aesops, minus Clover, so Harriet, Vine, Elm, and Marrow are all going to be competing on a team, as well as the Happy Huntresses. So, this is going to be a couple interesting matchups, but there's one team coming from Atlas that is particularly stacked, I would say. And that is what I'm calling currently the Atlas Elite, but, recommend some other team names. If you can come up with a combination of letters from first and last names of characters in these teams, I would be really interested in including them in this list. But the currently Atlas Elite team has Ironwood, Winter Schnee, Penny Polendina, and Clover. So, yeah, pretty stacked, but they're not the most stacked team on this list. Because now we move on to Salem's faction, which currently has 2 teams going to enter. We have Team Witch, which is Watts, Tyrion, Cinder, and Hazel. Pretty stacked in and of itself, and in my opinion, the favorites to win the entire tournament, but we'll see how things play out. And then we also have what I'm calling currently the Vytal underworld, or, you know, the name's a work in progress. Recommend another name if you guys feel like it. But this team consists of Roman Torchwick, Neapolitan, Mercury Black, and Emerald Sustrai. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how these four will work together, and we are going to assume that characters will be working together and actually fighting to win, not fighting against each other. The last faction that is sending one team is the White Fang. And that team consists of course, Adam Tauros, but also Sienna Khan and Ilya, as well as one member, which I'm going to leave up to you guys to decide in the comments below, between some of the members that we haven't really seen fight that much, because frankly, there isn't really another prominent member of the White Fang who we've seen in, you know, a great extent, in a combat sense at least. So the choices would be Trifa, the Spider Faunus, my personal choice out of all of these. Yuma, the Bat Faunus, having wings in the tournament would be a hell of an advantage, but we haven't really seen his combat capabilities other than that. Or we have Corsic and Fennec, who have shown their combat capabilities, but we don't know their semblances, etc. So I'll leave that decision up to you. Which out of those four, or do you have another recommendation as to who would be fitting on this team? So currently those are the 12 teams that are going to be competing. They'll have 5 rounds to face off against each other, and at the end of it, the top 4 will go on to their own little tournament and a winner will be decided. So that is the team category tournament. Something that I'm looking forward to, but not the most. The one I'm in particular looking forward to is the doubles. But I'll explain that one after I explain the single combat tournament. Now, for the teams, before I get to the singles, I will say the teams will be decided in the comments below the video. Now, as much as I would like to make a video for each and every matchup, I'm going to try, but for these ones in particular, I think I might have to do 1 or 2 longer videos each weekend in August going over the events of the different rounds, how the different teams stacked up against each other, what the matchups ended up looking like, and then you will all decide all of the matches of the round in the comments below it. So that's how I think the teams are going to work, but, you know, feel free to make some other suggestions. Moving on to the singles category, though, this is going to include any character that has had, you know, a decent amount of combat shown on screen. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to include Summer Rose in this tournament, as we just don't know her combat capabilities. But Team Stark, I wanted to include them, so certain characters are going to be omitted. Roman Torchwick is going to be competing, same with Neo, Emerald, Mercury, all of the characters that have their semblances, but, you know, some choices will be left out. Sienna Khan will be competing in this as well, because we have seen some of her combat capabilities in the Adam character short before Volume 6, and frankly, she fights with a chain dagger. How could we not include her? But, you know, this one is going to be, of course, 1v1 matches, and the structure of the tournament is going to be double elimination. So everyone's going to be randomly paired into a bracket at the beginning. After they win or lose, they will either move on or move to the loser's bracket, where they will have one more shot to make it all the way to the finals. So a character will have to lose twice to be completely eliminated. And after losing once, they will have to fight harder to get to the championship. Because there's going to be a lot of matches for this particular tournament, I'm going to do it in a sort of poll style setting, where you guys will just simply vote for the characters that you want to win each fight, or think would win each fight. Now, I'm going to recommend, again, don't choose just your favorite character, choose who you actually think would win a fight. This one is going to be less regulated, unfortunately, but although it's going to be random, the exhibition matches probably are a majority going to be 1v1, as there's going to be a lot of matchups that I've wanted to see, and I know a lot of other people have wanted to see as well. So we're going to get a lot of description, analyses, and things like that in the exhibition matches for 1v1, but the tournament itself will be held in more of a poll-style setting, where every day in August I will post 1 or 2 different polls where you will have 24 hours or 12 hours or however long it's going to be. I'll work out the details a little bit closer to the date as to who would win that and who moves on in the brackets and the rankings. By the end of August or September, depending on how long it goes, we will have our champion for the singles division. Now getting into the doubles division, the one that I am most excited for and the one that I'm probably going to try to do a video for each and every match because they are going to be so interesting. There's going to be 4 biomes for each pair or each pair of doubles that are going to be facing off against each other, but that's not the only aspect of randomization that's going to be in there. We are going to have pretty much all the characters that participated in the singles tournament randomly paired with each other as partners and then randomly paired against each other to fight. So if you've ever wondered how Jean's semblance would interact with any other character semblance in the RWBY series, well, you might just have that chance. Since, we got Crow teaming up with Tyrion, something that we certainly didn't expect in Volume 7, but I certainly enjoyed up until the ending of it, which made me sad, but this is something that could be extremely fun to do because we're going to have semblances like Crow with his bad luck, his misfortune, paired with other ones that he's going to be working alongside, similarly with Clover and his good luck, and all of these different people working together, analyzing how their semblances will work together and what fighting styles they would be good at using, etc. This is something I'm really looking forward to, and the tournament will be held in a single elimination style. So once they lose once, they're out, just to kind of save the amount of videos that I'll be doing. But this, I'm hoping, is something that we can do every single break between volumes. So this will be the inaugural Phoenix Festival tournament, the first of its kind, hopefully to be held annually. But with all that being said, after all of my rambling and explaining, I hope you guys are looking forward to this, like even half as much as I am, because I've wanted to do character fights and character matchups for so long, and I'm so happy to be able to do this. Share your opinions and thoughts in the comments below, please. I really would love to know your feedback on this. But with that being said, I'll shut up now. Please subscribe if you have not already. Want to keep up with the Phoenix Festival as it is going on, who is ranking in the tournaments, what the next exhibition match is going to be. I will be making announcements on the channel as well as Twitter. Follow me there at Phoenix Knight 7 if you want updates there as well. So thank you so much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.